I first came to Harville Road in August last year, so almost a year now. So I met somebody at an Earth First gathering who was basically putting the word out, asking for help at a Stop HS2 camp. I didn't really know that much about it until I turned up and spoke to people and actually saw the compounds, saw the sort of land that was around and what they were intending on destroying. Came here to the country park, which didn't have fences there, and they weren't really doing a lot of work there, so it was quite nice to sort of get the gist of living in a field. Sort of considering going to uni to do ecology and environmental sciences, which would have meant having to go back to college. I did sort of look into that and had kind of applied and got the start date, but on the start date I was sat in the little Polly Higgins on a footpath instead. I suppose this was kind of a way out of having to go to uni or college, and just turn up here and figured that I'd probably learn a lot more from people with experience and knowledge and living outside than I would sitting in a classroom getting stressed out about it all. At that point the top camp had been there for almost 2 years, which was just on the roadside, which is still there, so almost 3 years now. We also had a main camp in the top field, and then just as I turned up, the main call out for help was possible footpath closure. It was supposed to happen on the 22nd of August. I turned up a couple of days later and sort of moved into a little blue rowing boat that had been strategically placed on the footpath to stop HS2 closing it and gaining access to the woodland there and the sort of lake around Hoak, keeping that footpath open for a good sort of 6 months while they went through the courts to try and get rid of us. Eventually they got an eviction order for the footpath and for the land that they sort of already owned, so we were ready for that to be evicted. They started that on the 7th of January, but on the same day they also came to evict the top camp without any paperwork, without any warning, because they said they had a CPO on it. So we were back on just on the roadside and the woods, and then they came to evict the woodland camp the next week, which they succeeded in, but then we took it back over the weekend, as you do when, you know, 100 XR people turn up and walk through the fence. It felt really good actually, and it was nice to have that many people there supporting, because it had been pretty quiet over winter, sometimes with only sort of 3 or 4 of us in the freezing cold trying to do quite a lot with a small number. We would get up at about 5 every morning, try and warm up around the fire, and then all walk down to Denham Country Park to make sure they weren't starting work here. They started work very end of October, November time, so that was sort of our routine for a good month or so. It was waking up early, coming here, being wrongfully arrested quite a lot. It was alright, it was just a bit stressful not being able to leave really, because there were so few of us, so it's nice now that there's lots of people. There's definitely been, especially in the country park, a huge police presence since they started back last year, with police, well, seemingly unrestricted police resources turning up for us when we're stood, holding placards where we're legally allowed to be, just watching what they're doing. They use arrests firstly to figure out who people are. We'd been, I would say, harassed by Thames Valley Police, you know, following us down the road for an hour when we were just sat outside the compounds watching what they were doing, saying we needed to give our names and addresses and what's your purpose here today, following us around, and because that didn't work, arresting us for something that was then later dropped due to lack of evidence, just to get our names, bail conditions to try and keep us away, and then use those bail conditions to jump on us whenever we were seen, just to get rid of us for a couple of days so that they could get the work done. Standing in the golf course with my dog, trying to dry her off because it was raining, being grabbed by the arm by one of them when I was obviously not committing a crime, and being jumped on by about 5 of them and pressure pointed and handcuffed. Having bail conditions and asking the police face to face where I was allowed to stand with my bail conditions, they said it's fine as long as you stand on the road. So I stood on the road and ended up being arrested for putting my hand in a hedge saying that was aggravated trespass with the police not generally knowing what was going on. They turn up, they talk to the HS2 workers, we ask them questions, they don't tend to respond. Go up, talk to the workers, say, we've been told you're stopping this, we've been told they own the land. We've asked for paperwork saying if they own the land or not. We've been denied that multiple times. Crackley was a big one. I know a lot of people that went there had really, really horrible dreams and really, really bad sleep and were actually really traumatised by that. I know I had really, really horrible dreams for about a week after going there to start with, just watching trees being cut down, lack of respect that they're shown with the amount of years that they've been alive, longer than any of us will be alive, the amount of life that they contain in, you know, a branch of an oak tree. Sitting on the fence and just watching and feeling helpless and knowing that it's all for nothing. If it actually benefited people, working people, then at least there would be some justification. But it's just a money-making project for a few people that are benefiting from it. You know, you just sort of wake up and wait for the grabby arms to start standing up and moving out of the car park, and you go, I wonder which trees are going to come down today. Harville Road, there was a couple of ancient oaks sort of across the road from Top Camp that they were trying to cut down, that a couple of people got up and saved on one day. HS2 workers said, oh, don't worry, we won't be doing anything with these trees till at least December. You know, they're safe for now kind of thing. And then 2 days later, we were just sort of sat eating breakfast and we heard this almighty crash. And we ran up the road and these two ancient oaks were just on their side with about 20 carrots around them, a couple of machines. As soon as we turned up, they all disappeared. But hearing that crash was horrible. But at Crackley, actually seeing like oak trees that were a few hundred years old just come down in a matter of minutes was actually quite traumatic. Obviously, I'd rather not be in a jail cell because I can do a lot more useful things. But I honestly think whatever the outcome is for me, that they have lost this, whatever they're trying to do. They're trying to scare people away, they're trying to intimidate people, they're trying to exert their power. But whatever happens, I think it's going to anger a lot of people, the fact that they're being so petty. It's just obviously not going to work. I think it's something that's happened with a lot of people. There's a surprising amount of people that say, I just popped along for a weekend and here I am 6 months later. So I think actually being in the environment, being in a woods that you know is going to be destroyed, seeing individual animals, you know, going about their business, and knowing that it's all going to be concreted over, all cut down. It's a lot different than just seeing the statistics and go, oh, 108 ancient woodlands. That's terrible, but when you actually stand in one of them and spend time there and get to know it and see how beautiful it is, see all the people that enjoy it and all the wildlife that's around, you have a much bigger connection than just seeing photos or whatever. And meeting other people that have been fighting this for years and years. The knowledge that the camp at Harville Road had been looked after by a very, very small number of dedicated local people, you know, you kind of in awe of what other people have done, and it makes you want to help out more. Feeling helpless about it, then realising that actually you do have the power to do something and change it, even if it's just to stop the work for a small amount of time. Everything we do is a win. Even when we're evicted from somewhere and the trees are cut down, that's a win, because we stood up and we made it as hard as physically possible for them to do it. Each sort of big area that they're trying to destroy, the longer we can make that take and the more effort it is for them, we delay them getting to the next area. Just being here now is a win.